So in a few minutes, we'll have the Yizkor service. If you don't have the booklet, there are more in the back. If it is your custom to leave during Yizkor because your parents are still alive, there'll be a couple minutes to transition. If it's your custom to stay here just because there are people who may not have had anyone to say Yizkor for, it's certainly appropriate to stay if you wish as well. So as a rabbi, I meet a lot of people. One thing I just ask is, please don't ask me if I remember you. I probably do, but just not in that exact awkward moment. But one of the things I learned is that people are far more interesting than you would imagine. People are trying harder than you might think, and everyone's a mess, self-included. I don't know a single person who isn't a mess. Now, they may not know it. I can tell you their families do. Every single person has got a story. Every single person is struggling with something. You only know your inside and their outside. Their outside might look like something that you're envious of, or it must be perfect, or how nice to be that person. Everybody is struggling. Everybody's got a story. And maybe you're the person best equipped to deal with your story. But I think the purpose that God gave us the Torah, the reason God gave us the Torah, is not to be perfect and not to fix everything in our lives, but to be the best version of the mess that we are. To be a glorious and holy mess. Because it's that challenge that makes us unique, but it's also, if we own the mess we are, it is the only thing that allows us to connect to other people. If you are perfect, you are self-contained, and you don't need anything or anyone. But when you own the fact that there are parts of you that are just missing, and someone else has parts that are missing, but maybe together you make something beautiful, that's what gets you through. I took chemistry for a while. In my glorious month of pre-med in college. But I learned enough that the only atoms that could create other things were the ones that were imperfect themselves, that needed something to connect to make something greater than they were on their own, something stronger, something more beautiful. That's why God gives us the Torah. The Torah says that this is about you and the kind of person that you can be, which is why I think we call this holiday Zaman Matan Toratenu. It's the giving of our Torah. We should be calling it Zaman Matan Torat Hashem. It should be the giving of God's Torah. But it's the giving of our Torah. And I think that there's something very powerful in God's giving of the Torah, because God is modeling something very powerful. God is giving a teaching to us, meaning that God is letting it go. Instead of saying that there's one ideal kind of human, right? That was the story of creation. God creates one person, Adam. But that wasn't enough. And so God creates a partner for Adam. But because God demanded perfection from both of them, there was no room. All the time in the book of Genesis, God expects us to be perfect, and it always goes sideways. Eventually, God lets it go by saying, I'm no longer going to try to control every aspect of your life. I'm going to give you the Torah, and you're going to create a society. You're going to create a people. You're going to create your own way of approaching the world. So the Judaism that we live is not that similar to the Torah. The Torah becomes a template about how to think about Judaism, but because God let the Torah go and gave it to us and let us find our own way, that's what allowed us to live, to connect to each other, to be the best and highly imperfect versions of ourselves. Matan Toratenu, our Torah. Each person has their own Torah. Each person has their own way of approaching life. Yizkor is very emotional. It's a very powerful moment. I tell you, in my own kishkis, every time we approach Yizkor, I just feel. And hopefully the people that you're remembering are the ones who allowed you to have your own Torah, who allowed you to have a say in your life, who allowed you to become the kind of person that made sense for you and not for them, that they gave you that gift. But I know that didn't happen for everybody. And there were people who were raised without agency of their own thoughts or their own bodies or their careers or their lives or their partners. Part of what we remember is that even if our family of origin didn't give us that, God gave us that. Through the modeling of the giving of the Torah, our Torah, God gave us a path to live with our imperfections, to live with our flaws, and to see the beauty of them. We come together for Yizkor because every single person's got that story. Every single person is either mourning the person who gave them what they needed or mourning the fact that they didn't get what they needed. But we come together because God ultimately gave us what we need. Permission to be ourselves and to celebrate ourselves. But that's also our task for the next generations. The next generations are going to be different from us, and we're going to want to make them exactly like us. I find sometimes when people talk about that, they want new people, it's like they don't want new people, they want lots more of old people, just who look new. Because they don't want anything to be different, and they don't want it to change, and they don't want them to be themselves. They just want more of who they are already. But it can't work that way. Things change. And that's why we're here, because the generations before us allowed us ultimately to be ourselves. And that's what we're celebrating today. With the giving of the Torah, we are giving ourselves permission to be fully ourselves, to be the glorious mess that we are. And as long as we give permission to the next generations as well, we will always be able to live door to door. We will always make sure that there are generations of our people. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.